Everyone, and welcome to another episode of OneMicNite podcast with MarcosLuis. I want to thank you guys for all joining me and on this journey of introducing you to some of the most incredible people and artists in this world. Today is no exception, but first, before we do that, please, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you drop down right now, click that follow button, subscribe, share these episodes. There's so many incredible people that you need to meet and jump into the conversation with. Also, leave a comment down below, and please go to Apple and leave a review. It always helps. 5 stars is always great. So today, we're gonna jump right in. I have the pleasure of talking to someone who is an incredible person, but he is a makeup artist. He's a hair designer. He is a makeup instructor for celebrities, for the lay people like myself and you. And he's here today to talk to us and give us some tips and a little bit about his journey. So please welcome Tyrone Traylor to OneMicNite. Tyrone, how you doing?
Hey Marcos, hey everybody, how are you all today?
Thank you so much for joining us on OneMicNite podcast. I really appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
Listen, I have questions. The first question is, who is Tyrone Traylor?
Wow. Who is Tyrone Traylor? How did I get into, this great industry and everything that I do and am? So 1,000 years ago, a music arranger, producer, and actually the Questlove of his time. I don't know if you know that. My dad was actually the percussionist on the Jack Paar show, which eventually became the Tonight Show. So yeah, and my mom was one of the top 4 models in New York City in like the 40s. So that's kind of how they met, and I'm kind of a result of that, I guess. Yeah. So what happened was, from the age of 4, like when I could first talk, I wanted to be a doctor, and my parents were so proud. I could barely say the word doctor. Mm-hmm. And what do you want to be? A doctor? Did the whole thing, went to Stuyvesant High School, which is like a major science school here in New York City. Went on, got accepted to Cornell, started pre-med, and realized I hated it.
I know that journey so well. I know that one. Yeah.
And it was one of those things where for a minute I was like a little bit lost. So I did what anyone would do whose mother was a model and dad was a musician. I took acting classes. And it was during that time, I was at HB Studios, and there was an instructor. Her name was Kathy Burrow. I'll always remember her. It's an important thing to do, I think, is to always say the names of the educators who influenced us through our lives, keep them alive, keep their memory alive, and keep the history alive.
Absolutely.
And she, of course, as an actor for theater, you had to know how to do your own makeup. And it was while I was sitting in that theatrical makeup course where the light bulb went off. And it was like, this is what I want to do. I found the craft that I wanted, the art that I wanted to use to tell a story.
Interesting. Did you find that, I think you hit on a couple of good points. First of all, I went along that same journey. I started out, and thought I was going to be a doctor. That was my whole thing all along. And then finally, the light bulb went off. I had been doing theater all my life as well, but maybe you weren't doing theater, but I was doing it. But it wasn't really, it was like a hobby. I was good at it. I just did it, but it never occurred to me that I would be an actor or be in the entertainment industry. My goals were set on being a doctor. And then one day it just happened. Did your parents didn't sort of prod you towards, the acting and the industry, or they just sort of left you open to choose what you wanted to do?
I have to say that, and it's a lesson for anyone that I think is interested in being the best parent that they can be, is when conversations would come up with what I wanted to do with my future. Because of course, like any kid, I'd ask my father or my mother, what do you want me to be when I grow up? And their answer always was, I want you to be happy. And
but then goes, what is happiness? Do you know at that point? I think, when we're at that point, we're looking for someone to guide us. And then how do we go about finding the happiness? That's where the question lies.
Yeah, well, that's still the question.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's
Absolutely.
the journey.
I agree.
That's the journey.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say that I feel truly fortunate and some would use the word blessed to have, at this stage in my life, to be able to look back and say, wow, I really found something that has fulfilled me, this entire time. I mean, I'm not a young guy,
Right.
and so I often think about those that have gone before me, and those that have not been on earth as long as I have.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so, I can honestly say, looking back at my life, that at just about any point, if that had been my last day, everything up to that day was good,
Right.
was fine, And if this is my last conversation, don't cry for me tomorrow.
Right.
I have led a life.
Right.
Which
then gives me my next question. Did you feel like, or do you feel like there was pressure on you to, make it big or, be successful or any of those things by a certain age? I just had a conversation with someone yesterday who turned 30 and feels the pressure of not being successful and not being further along in their career, than where they are right now. And I said, listen, I'm older than that and I'm just figuring it out myself.
No, you're not. Don't lie.
32. Did you feel the pressure? Or do you feel the pressure?
You know what? That's actually part of being 30 and 20. I had more angst in that time of my life than I do now. Let me tell you something, because I know you're not at 50 yet, but way back when I hit 50, I started using another word that begins with F a lot more.
Right.
When it came to certain things. And it was like, you know what? I thought I wanted that, but no, kind of like F that,
Yeah.
Collecting my thoughts, give me a sec.
That's
Okay.
good.
Sorry. So, it's like, I think one of the things that I've learned over time is wherever you are in life, you are exactly where you need to be at that moment.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
And a lot of times the universe has stuff in store for you that might not be exactly what you thought it was going to be, but in the end, it turns out to be more than you ever thought you'd have.
Exactly. And here's the zinger, is that you have to remain open to receive that.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of times we get frustrated with, doing and not seeing immediate results, and being in a state of immediate gratification for certain things, when what is planned for us or what is going to happen is coming up in the future.
And I'm going to piggyback on that a little bit, because another thing that I think happens is that when you are younger and you perhaps have not experienced enough of life around you to really have a personal barometer, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
Like, I think a lot of times, like when you're 20, you're worried about what the guy next door is wearing. You're measuring your self-worth in the scope of those around you.
Yes.
As opposed to, what do I have? What makes me happy?
Right.
Because you will, hopefully you will get to a point, and I'm talking to the younger people here, hopefully you will get to a point where it's like, look, you're driving a Maybach, good for you. I'm glad that you have that Maybach. And you know what? I'm glad I have my Fiat. And I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm perfectly okay with that. I don't need that. I don't need those sneakers. I don't, because that's not what's going to make me happy. You know, what's going to make me happy is knowing that I have great friends like Marcos in my life.
Right.
You know,
absolutely.
And people that love me and people that I love. And, you know, I have enough for me. I don't necessarily want your stuff. And I also don't want your problems, because problems come with that stuff. And that's what people don't realize.
Right. Yes.
You know,
Yes.
The more that's in your bank, the more you got to worry about.
Biggie Smalls, more money, more problems.
That's right.
That right. Yep.
Right. You know,
yeah.
So I mean, you know, I'm really happy. And I think that it's important that wherever you are in life, whatever stage you are in life, it's important to take a moment, take a breath, you know, and just appreciate where you are at that time. And it doesn't mean that you have to be on a yacht. I happen to have been, but you know, it doesn't mean that, you know, it has to happen when you're on a yacht or something. It could be that you take a walk in the park.
Right.
You know, and you see the flowers and you see, you know, something calming. Maybe you live by, you know, a pond or a river.
Here's the thing, you hit the nail right on the head, because a lot of times, you know, people listen to those people who have already created, you know, success, and success meaning monetary and financial success. And they're giving advice to other people, and people are looking and saying, how did you get to be so successful? How did you get to be so successful? Where does that come from? Where does that come from? You know, is it the mindset that people have? Is it where does that come from?
The question or the being successful? Being
successful. I mean, people are saying, you know, well, you're so successful. How do I become that? When I guess the answer really is, and this is what I'm throwing at you, is the answer, is it enjoy your journey, follow your own footprints, make your own footprints? You know what I mean? Or are you trying to model your life after someone who's already attained some sort of financial gain? Because the bottom line is that there's only one of them.
I think that there's a combination. I agree that there's only one of them, but none of them are original.
Right. Yes.
It's one of the things that happens when I teach, when I do my classes. Mm-hmm. For example, you know, there's a shot of Rihanna, I think, with cheetahs or lions or something like that, right? And it was like so great, so fresh, so new, something so different, and so daredevil. And I'm like, well, you know, there was this singer named Grace Jones
yes.
with leopards or lions in the 80s. And before that, she kind of got it from this singer named Josephine Baker that did it, you know, in the 30s, who got it from Ma Rainey, who did it in the 20s. So it does evolve, and you can take yesterday and make it today. I'm going to get hate from people when I'm about to say, but you know, like people look at a Beyonce, right? Yeah. And then, you know, you look at Diana Ross, and you know, it's a lot of the same parameters. So I think it does make sense to look at people that have kind of achieved where you want to be. Mm-hmm. I mean, my person, you know, funny you mentioned that. So when I started doing makeup here, especially on the fashion end, there was a makeup artist. His name was Way Bandy. And I loved everything he did. I was totally inspired by him. And wanted to, you know, really, like, his hand was the hand that I wanted in the industry. And his muse was a model named Brooke Shields, who did like famous Calvin Klein ads. I know y'all are too young for that, but she later on in my career, I had the opportunity to do a job with Brooke Shields for Badgley Mischka. And it turned out really well, and we ended up doing a number of things together, a number of projects together. And one day I was doing Brooke's makeup, and she looks at me and she goes, have you heard of a makeup artist named Way Bandy? And I'm like, have I heard of him? He's like one of the reasons why I started doing fashion makeup. She goes, really? I'm like, yeah. She goes, when I close my eyes and you do my makeup, it feels like it's him.
Wow.
And it was just like, wow. See, so it does, in a way, it does recycle.
Right. Yeah.
But, you know, back to going to your question as far as, you know, how do you get there? What do you do? First thing you have to do is, you know, decide what success is for you.
Yes.
I think what success looks like for you. And once you envision that, it gives you something to work toward. And then the second thing is, most of the people that I know that are really successful don't really work.
Explain. What do you mean?
So, for example, I did a shoot not too long ago where I was on set. I had to be there every morning at 4:30, and I was there sometimes till 11 o'clock at night. For a lot of people, that's work. That's a lot of work. It's hard. It's long hours. I have to tell you that for me personally, I woke up every morning at 3 o'clock because I needed to get there by 4:30. I woke up every morning at 3 o'clock in the morning with joy in my heart because I was going to do what I was passionate about doing.
Right.
And it wasn't work.
It wasn't work. And so that's what people are searching for. How do they get to the point where they find where the passion is for them? So it doesn't become work. So it becomes, you know, a good feeling to go and do what you do.
I think you have to bounce around a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that's the beauty of having, you know, of having youth or having time. And I'm saying youth and I shouldn't, you know, because I mean, my uncle, Vincent, you know, he didn't start acting until he was what, like 57? You know, and now he's getting calls all over the place for
Right, yeah.
But, you know, it was like, you find that thing, and it comes at different times for different people, and it clicks, and all of a sudden, you're a success. And even before you start getting the monetary stuff, which, you know, you start behaving in a successful manner. You know, I can't tell you how many times I've walked into a room and people are like, okay, well, you know, I know you're somebody. I don't know who you are, but I know you're somebody.
Right, right.
You know, and it's because I'm truly satisfied with life.
Right. And it's that, and it's all, yeah, the law of attraction also. You're attracting those things because you're putting out that energy.
You're putting it out, and if you're truly, I can speak from a personal level, a lot of people that in the industry have a reputation for being difficult to work with, I get along with fine.
Yeah.
And I think one of the reasons why is because just like I have my passion, they have their passion. We see it in each other. We understand it in each other. It adjusts our approach when we work together. And because we're doing it with the same passion and the same commitment and want the same goal, it works.
Absolutely.
You know, and you can't be fragile about it. One of the things that happens a lot, I think, as artists in general, right? We have visions. You have a vision. I have a vision. And sometimes the vision that we have is not the vision that's going to sell the moment.
Right. Absolutely.
And so it's not your, you know, there are times when it's like, okay, I need to be flexible. I need to adjust. You know, maybe this is not, you know, a fuchsia lipstick moment. You know, maybe it's a brown lipstick moment. I might not like brown lipstick, but if it works for this moment, if it tells the story, then that's what you get.
Right.
And if it's what the director's asked me to do, that's what I'm doing.
Right, which then leads me to ask you, how much humility do you have to have in those cases, flexibility, and also how important does being a makeup artist or a hair designer play in the role of telling the story for whatever it's in, whether it's on the runway, whether it's theater, whether it's magazines.
Yep. So for me, it's always, that's what I do, why I do what I do. And I don't care whether it's, you know, an actor for a film, a model for a runway, or, you know, because I've had this experience, it's actually one of the most fulfilling experiences of my life, you know, working with, you know, abused women as well. You know, it's always about telling a story. With that woman that's been abused, it's about showing her how beautiful she is and that she's too beautiful to receive the treatment that she's received in that situation. You know, if it's a model, you know, not all runway makeup is pretty makeup. You know, sometimes it's telling a story. I mean, I've had times, I remember doing a job, I was on the team for Alexander McQueen with Val Garland, and I remember there was a time we were basically just pretty much throwing dirt on the models' faces, you know, and that was, you know, that was that moment. In the story, I'm laughing because there was an experimental film that I was booked for, and I'm like, okay, it's going to be some student nonsense. Meanwhile, I get on set. The cast is Michelle Leo, Malachi McCourt, and was it Rob Lowe? I think it was Rob Lowe. It was like, you know, three major talent, right? And I'm on here, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be, you know, whatever. And I end up going on this set, and it's like these major stars. And the director's father was well connected with everybody, so it became this really cool concept. And for this particular role with Michelle, it was really about, I'm sorry, I said Michelle, Melissa Leo. With Melissa, it was really just about, you know, finding, because of the era and the time and the character, it was literally just like a 1960s orangey red shade lipstick and some old mascara. Powder her down, no foundation. That was it for the end. But the thing about it was, you know, I had a discussion with her as to who she saw the character being. I had a discussion with the director as far as who he saw the character being. I married the two together. I did this as I was doing it. I remember, because it was supposed to be taking place like in like the Ozarks or something. So as I'm doing the makeup, my voice is slowly starting to take on the voice of one of those characters. And Mama left this lipstick here, so I'm gonna put a little bit on and see. And I'm doing this as I'm doing the makeup.
I love that.
When I turned around, she looked in the mirror. She's like, I see her. I know who she is.
I love that. I love it.
You know? Because
the makeup is definitely a character in whatever project you're working on.
Listen, when you're flipping through channels, right? What is it that makes you stop on that one show? Right? Because you're looking at everything 3 seconds.
Yeah, it's the way they look.
And then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, it's the way they look.
So you don't know the script, you don't know the storyline. You know, you may not know the actors, but there's something that catches you visually in that second. And usually what it is the fact that your hair, your makeup person, your wardrobe person, whoever the set designer was, they caught you. It all clicked together, it all worked together, and it got your attention.
Absolutely.
And it pulls you into the story. You know, and without that, you really don't have a story.
You don't, not at all. Not at all.
I mean,
it's always the behind the scenes that helps to create the character. You know, and whether it's the wardrobe or the makeup or the hair, it's all those elements together that help tell the story, and I love that.
Yeah, it's the collaboration.
Collaboration, definitely is a collaboration.
The other thing that can mess up a story, and we've all seen this happen, right? Where you'll see something and it's just like, you were expecting so much more from that actress, right? Or so much more, and it's because it doesn't look right.
Right.
And a lot of times what will happen, because you were talking about egos before, a lot of times that'll happen. It'll be like the talent's ego gets in the way, and it's like, yeah, but I always wear shimmery eye, highlight on my cheek. Girl, it's 1742 right now, and you're running through the woods. There is no go highlight.
Right. It's what's right for that moment.
It's what's right for the moment. And that tends to happen. And even a lot of times you'll look and see, which productions stand the test of time and which ones don't.
Right.
And the ones that stand the test of time tend to be the ones that are more true to period.
Right.
It's why 80s films look like 80s films.
What just came to mind is Elizabeth Taylor when she was playing Cleopatra. Yes, it's the wardrobe, but it's also that fucking eyeliner she had on, right?
Absolutely.
That was the makeup. That was it. Right.
Makeup.
Those are important things.
It absolutely creates the character. I'm gonna tell on you for a minute, because there was a shoot, something that you and I did together.
Right.
You'll probably remember this, where the photographer asked me to pile makeup on you.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I know you.
Right.
And I know what you wanted to do.
Absolutely.
And I know what I wanted to do. And I know who you are, because I know who you are. I know what you wanted to portray.
Mm-hmm.
I went in a different direction on that. And you were happy with it.
I was happy.
You were happy.
Yep, I was very happy.
You were the one that was paying for it.
Absolutely, you got that right.
Happy.
And guess what? The photos came out bomb. They were so good, right?
Yeah.
Because of the makeup. That's what.
Because it looked, because you looked like you. You didn't
look like me. Right.
You didn't look like, as the directions were, I want you to paint him the way you would paint a woman. I'm like,
right. No.
That's not the person that I know.
Right. What do you have in your makeup bag?
What do I have in my bag? Okay, so
just in general, what do you keep in a makeup bag?
You know what? It really depends on the job. I don't know. You can probably see all those boxes piled up over there.
Mm-hmm.
All of those are different makeup sets for different occasions. So I know I have something coming up, a pilot. It's going to be with two pretty well-known actors. They're both, because they're both men. Obviously I'm not going to be bringing my rouge, or anything like that. I mean,
unless they're playing Santa Claus or something like that.
Right. Well,
yeah.
Maybe.
Right.
I've done that. But what's always in my kit is great skincare.
Mm. What do you mean? In terms of cleaning or what?
Yeah, I mean, as far as a good cleanser, a good moisturizer, there are certain brands I am not going to plug them here.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But there are brands that mattify and moisturize at the same time, so you don't have to keep going in and powdering over and over again during the shoot. That's one of the things that I think separates the real artists
mm-hmm.
from the kids that call themselves makeup artists. If you have to go in on a set like 20 times during the shoot and retouch, you didn't set something right in the first place, in my opinion.
Yeah.
In my opinion, because every time you go in on set, I mean, there have been even times where the actress might look a little shiny or something, and I let it go, because at that moment there's some kind of magic happening between the actress and the director, or between the camera and the action on set. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that action is really a little bit more important than whether the nose is a tiny bit.
That's a good point. Yeah. When I'm on set, I hate that. I hate when the makeup artist bounces in and just, kills that moment, because I'm in a zone and somebody comes in and starts messing with my face and just kind of takes me out of what I'm trying to do as an actor.
Yeah. Well, there's times where it's like, no, the magic's happening. Mm-hmm. Let this, let this moment happen right now. And when they cut the scene, I'll go in and touch up a little bit if necessary. But that moment needs to be on film.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, how do you determine? Okay, so people of color have different shades. I've always had problems as a model. I can't even tell you how many times I would show up for a job, and even some of the makeup artists of color didn't even have the right colors because I'm dark skinned with a yellow undertone. They weren't prepared, so I always had to take my own makeup to these shoots. How do you solve those problems? What do you do? Are you always prepared?
I'm laughing because
it's a problem.
So when I was working years ago at CNN, Carlos Watson walked in, and he had his stuff, and I'm like, yeah, that's not your stuff, and I kind of corrected what was going on. Dr. Ian Smith came in right after, and he says to me, and puts down his foundation, this is what I wear, and I go, all right, and then I go in my kit and get what I get. Okay, this is you're good. He goes, I'm not surprised because I saw what you did with Carlos, just before. So the answer is, I personally think that every actor, I don't care what your skin tone is, if you should figure out what your go-to foundation is, and you should always have that on hand anyway, as a just in case, as a backup. I think things have gotten better as far as people understanding skin tones and undertones and how to work with them and how to handle them. I think that we are progressing. The other, but there are a number of things at play here. As you know, I taught at Makeup Designer in Mud, which is like the biggest makeup school in I guess the world, because they're all over the world and stuff now, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the big problems was that there aren't enough of us attending those schools. So a lot of times, the only skin that you're getting to work on is pink skin.
Gotcha.
When you go out to the industry. My advice for anyone who really wants to be a makeup artist, and they're not gonna like it, and I don't really care, is you have to spend a couple of years behind the counter in a makeup store.
And why do you say that?
A Sephora or whatever, because it will give you the experience of working with a multitude of products, right? Because I think most stores now do the what do they call that? There are two different models, right? One where you work for one line, and one where you kind of work for the store and use all the line. And I intersell. So a lot of times you might be, working with one line, but you can sell anything in the store. So that's the situation where I suggest they get into, right? Okay. So that you are playing with every single thing that's in that store. And then, so you've got product experience, and can probably build your kit, because a lot of times the reps come in and will teach you about the latest product or something and give it to you. Okay, so you're building your kit, number one. Number two, you're working with every skin type and every age. Because not every model is going to walk in, be 16 years old with flawless skin.
Right, yeah.
And you need to know what to do for someone who's 16, but you also need to know how to handle someone who's 86. And you have to know someone, be able to work with someone who's stressed out of their minds, and someone who's cool and chill. Right. So you need the experience, the interpersonal experience of dealing with different people and dealing with personalities.
Right. And like you said, those people who are insistent upon wearing a certain thing, and this is how I always wear it, and then how to be able to deal with them in a way where you get. Yeah,
you have to have that experience, because makeup is not. Yes, it's the art, but it's also the psychology.
Right. It is.
That goes behind it, and to me that's the only way you can get it. And to be quite frank, I would rather, if I were going to hire an assistant, I would probably hire someone who would work behind a counter in a makeup store for a couple of years before I'd hire someone fresh out of a makeup school. To be honest.
For those reasons, that's interesting.
Yeah, because they've dealt with people. They are going to understand how this works.
Right.
In a way that most people, you'll get the exception, the one person that does it, but you really need that experience.
Right.
It's life experience. And it's how all of us learned before there were such things as makeup schools.
Right. Now you worked in different facets of entertainment on TV shows. You worked for Rosie O'Donnell, Queen Latifah, Anderson Cooper, all those people. You worked at New York Fashion Week. Do you have a preference? Do you have is there one that you like a little bit better? Magazines, catalogs?
I have to say I'm glad that I've experienced it all. I like all of it. At this time in my life, if I'm doing fashion, I'm crossing over between fashion to almost avant-garde art. If I'm going to work in that venue, I'm going to do it. And also, if I work in that venue, I have to have a little bit more control than I did back in the day.
Right.
A lot of times in the industry, people will do what they call test shoots, or shoots that basically aren't paying. Certainly, if I'm going to do a test shoot or an experimental shoot or something like that, then I need to have control of the makeup, because otherwise, why am I doing it? It's not reflecting.
It's not doing anything for you.
It's not doing anything for me.
Right. Do you have a favorite celebrity look that you like? Is there one right now that you like?
Is there?
I'm sure there's several out there.
There are. It's hard.
Different times, yeah.
I mean,
because people change anyway, but I think
that's what I'm gonna say. They're so they're so different. Two people. So there are two artists that stand out to me, just in general, as far as looks and a career, and they're on different sides of the spectrum, but not really. Queen Latifah and Lady Gaga.
Really? Why?
Well, Dana stands out, Queen Latifah stands out because even when I didn't work directly with her, I learned some really cool lessons from her. I learned, there are a group of us that didn't grow up in the easiest community. And we had to kind of figure out how to negotiate one life that we knew as we were entering into a totally different world.
Yeah.
And one of the things a lot of people don't know about her is that, even back when she was doing the hip hop, she was investing in a lot of different types of businesses. She actually owned a bunch of, again, here I go talking about my age. But before you could just stream stuff online,
right,
you actually had to go to a store to rent a video to take home, to put in your video machine, and then you would take it back to the store and get another video and, pay $1, whatever, unless you were late, in which case you had to pay $3,528.
Formerly known as Blockbuster.
Blockbuster, yeah. But in Jersey City, that was not Freudian. But in Jersey City, she actually owned a majority of those stores there.
Interesting, yeah.
Just like, what's the guy's name? There's a rapper. I was living up in
Ice-T?
No. Double D is his company. Jadakiss lived in the building that I lived in Yonkers. And one day I was going over to the car wash and it was like Double D car wash, and it never dawned on me. That was his car wash.
Oh, wow.
So, but what I was going to say from Dana, it was like, it just hit me like a ton of bricks early on.
Mm-hmm.
Look, this might not last forever. So instead of, I can't tell you how many people I know in my industry, when, you would get a gig that paid $3,000 for the, day or whatever, and it would go straight up their nose.
Yeah, sure.
Where it was like, no, you're investing in property, you're investing in that other thing that if this doesn't pan out, listen, I've always wanted to be an artist. I was determined I would not be a broke artist.
Yeah.
Or a struggling artist.
Absolutely.
That was not the plan.
Not a plan,
was not the plan.
Right.
And for those that think that there is some sort of ethereal honor in struggling for years and years and years, to get to become a monetary success in the industry, you keep playing that lottery card if you want to, but I'm banking my stuff.
Right.
Investing in other things.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with having your career, or your passion, but still financing your passion, because that financing, talking about success, that outside financing, right, is what gives you the freedom. Gives
you the leverage and the freedom to do your art.
Your craft.
That's it.
Do your craft. And then if you're doing your craft in that sort of comfort, as opposed to struggling, if you're doing your craft in comfort, the likelihood of success within your craft, I feel, is greatly improved.
Absolutely. I mean, we hear about one or two stories where people who are successful financially have lived in their cars and they, didn't have any food to eat. Okay, that's one in thousands. I personally am not trying to do that. I need to have water, lights, food, certain other things. I got to have a shower before I go to my audition. I got to have something to eat. Otherwise, my son is going to be rumbling in the audition room.
Exactly.
You have to have these things in order to keep your career and your craft on path. So
I know people that are like, in their 50s, that are like you said, worried about the lights being on tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah. No, you take care of the lights first, and then you can go on, with your career. But that's
right. Or do them simultaneously. There's no shame in having a job, working at Sephora and doing your makeup at the same time.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? That's what it's there for.
And so what I've done over the years, when I made that kind of money, I invested in real estate and did some other things, so that at this point I have I am the success, or whatever you want to call it, that I can do the gigs, I can pick and choose what I want to do. It's funny because I've had conversations with other artists sometimes, over rate. Well, your rates are so high. Well, this is what my rate is. If you think you can get what I'm offering for less, go for it. But this is what's going to make me feel good. There are people that make more than me. Again, that's where the F word comes in. That's fine. Make more. I'm happy with where I am.
Where you are
in the industry.
What does Tyrone have coming up in the future? Are you planning a makeup line? What are you
okay,
doing?
You don't need to put my business out in the
I know. I'm asking.
I'm
asking.
So there is, it's interesting because even before this, my partner and I have been working on a line that there's so many times that I go on a set or I see something in a product, I'm like, well, if this just did this, or if this just had this, it would be perfect. And I'm kind of at a place now where it's like, if you see my kit, it's really, what I will say about my kit, because you asked me that before.
Right.
If you look at my kit, it's actually really small compared to a lot of people. Like when I see a makeup artist walk in with 10 cases of stuff behind them, I'm like, unless it's fashion week and you're doing 40 different shows, so you have to have all that product for all those different looks that you're doing that week, and so you're just carrying them from show to show, that I kind of get. But if you're like on, most movie sets,
Mm-hmm.
Or even most photo shoots, if you have a pretty clear set plan of what you're going to do in your head, then all I need is my basic stuff and my just in case stuff, which all fits in. I mean, I could literally work out of in fact, I used to carry those toolkits.
Right, yeah.
That construction workers use. Yeah, I can fit everything in one of those, I'm not a big fan of, I know it's a whole thing. I think it's one of the reasons why I probably don't do fashion the way a lot of people do fashion these ways, because I'm not going to be that guy that's going to walk in with like 4 pieces of Louis Vuitton luggage,
right,
as as an artist. It's just not my thing. It's not my, and if it's your thing, good. I hope that, I hope it works for you. I hope, kudos to you. I love the presentation. I love the drama. It's not me.
Not you.
It's not me.
Right.
But yeah, keeping that in mind, it kind of gives you an idea of when I say line, what I'm working toward. We are working toward a line that's going to be super easy to use for artists, but the everyday person can get something out of it too.
Okay, that's good.
And what's really interesting about it,
let's go. Here we go. I see it. I see it coming.
It would be pretty much impossible to transfer bacteria from one person to another.
Oh, okay.
With the way that we're putting the line together, and that's what I'll say about that.
I like that because a lot of times you worry about that kind of stuff. I know I've gotten.
Well, that's the part of being a makeup artist that it's like, the colors and the beauty and the drama, that's great. But remember, I started pre-med. I started as a doctor, so germs freak me out.
Yeah.
And it's always been something I've cared about. Is I don't want to transfer I don't want to give you her cold sore,
right.
Or and I want to make sure that what I'm putting on your skin isn't harming your skin.
Right.
Again, it's not 1868 where I'm putting arsenic on your cheeks to make them red or whatever, or belladonna on your eyes to make them white. We're not doing that.
Right. Interesting. Real quick, before we go, any quick tips for the ladies out there for makeup, just everyday wear? I mean, I know it changes with the trends, but
okay, cool. Yeah. So if I was going to give, I'm going to try to say this without being excessively political, but it's going to come across as such. So, oh well. Again, I'm at the age that F word came up.
Speak the truth. Speak your truth.
But the reality is that I don't think that we are. I don't think that we're past a place where masks are not going to be necessary, let's say. Okay. I know that in my community, we still mask, we still are wearing masks, we still, whether we're vaccinated or not, we're still taking the precautions, because, I don't want my 11-year-old neighbor who can't be vaccinated to get sick. So I'm going to do what I need to do to protect them.
Right.
As a result of that, I think that the emphasis right now is really on eyes. And I think, for most women, if you got maybe an eye color that was close to your skin tone with maybe a little bit of like a metallic, like a gold metallic in it, brush that across the lid, do a liner, throw on a lash, you're good to go, because nobody's gonna see this.
Yeah,
So
true. Yeah.
so I think if you look to that, I think that's a really just cool basic look to have. If you are using lip colors, my prediction would be that the matte and long-lasting lip colors are going to be the ones that are going to be more popular right now, because they tend not to move on your lip or all over the mask. When you've got a covering on your face.
Yeah.
Skin is always the most important thing to me, because your skin reflects your health. Look, as I always say, and I'll leave us with this, I guess, is that your skin is what is known as a secondary sexual characteristic. Okay, so when you look at someone, the first thing you look at is, oh, okay, woman, or okay, guy. And because whether we want to admit it or not, throughout our lives, you're always sizing up potential mates. I'm not saying if you're married, you're happy, all that. You're still sizing everybody else up.
Right,
it's
sure.
what we do.
Yeah.
And so the first thing, oh, woman, oh, okay, guy. The very second thing you look at is the skin and the hair. And why? Because your skin and your hair is reflective of your health. They're the first indicators of your health. And so your skin has to look its healthiest. So I think it's a big time for skincare. I think as far as makeup trends, it's a big time for eyes. And I think lips are kind of taking a little bit of a back burner right now. But if you're gonna do a lip, it's probably gonna be something that's matte and long lasting.
All right. Well, there you have it. Tyrone Traylor tells you what the tips are for makeup. Tell everybody how they can
And
find
the color of this.
Go ahead.
Oh, how can they find me? Okay.
Yeah,
So there's Tyrone Traylor on Instagram. And actually, by the time this airs, Tyrone Traylor Makeup will be on Instagram, because I was asked to stop telling so much of my personal life and put my professional stuff on one page. So I'm going to do that. There is a Facebook page, but nobody ever uses Facebook anymore. But
Right.
Tyrone Traylor Hair and Makeup is out there as well.
Actually, go to Tyrone Traylor Facebook page if you want to start to be with him on the community of makeup and makeup tips. That's what the Facebook page is used for. But definitely follow Tyrone Traylor on Instagram, and now Tyrone Traylor on Instagram at Makeup.
Traylor Makeup.
Makeup. There you go. Everybody, I want to thank you, Tyrone, for spending some time and giving us some tips and sharing your journey with us. Everyone, please make sure you follow Tyrone on the social media. You can follow us at OneMicNite. OneMicNite is spelled OneMicNite. Go to the .com, find out what we do. We also, at OneMicNite, just received a grant from the city of New York. So OneMicNite will be doing its live series once again. So check back with us for that. You can follow me at MarcosLuis, MarcosLuis. Also go to the .com, see what I have coming up. I'm back on stage off Broadway, and I have 2 films coming out soon. So make sure you follow me. Thank you for joining me for this episode of OneMicNite Podcast with MarcosLuis. See you next time.